What's up, smart students? Welcome back to my channel. My name is Chelsea Seaburn, and we've got a lot of ground to cover because I want to give you the beginner's guide tour of how to use Google Scholar effectively. Now, let's start from the top. What is Google Scholar? Here's how I like to explain it. Google Scholar is essentially the little sister to Google. You're familiar with Google, we all are. Google is a search engine that houses all the world's information. So you can take that concept and apply it to Google Scholar, the little sister, because instead of housing all the world's information, Google Scholar focuses on the world's academic information. In other words, you're gonna find things like journal articles, both published, unpublished, peer-reviewed journal articles. You might find academic books or other pieces like a conference piece or a court opinion. The list goes on and on. Now, from working with hundreds of you and from being a college student myself once upon a time, I know a lot of you turn to Google Scholar for research. And going back to the fact that it is like Google, you try to use Google Scholar just as you would Google. And here's the thing, while they're similar, Google Scholar requires a separate set of skills to make the most out of it, which is why I'm here today. So now let's jump into my computer and I'm gonna walk you through all of the functions in Google Scholar. And by the way, I created this in-depth, comprehensive template of everything I'm gonna go through in this video. So be sure to download that. You can find it in this description down below. But with no further ado, let's jump into my computer. Here we are. Welcome to your tour of Google Scholar. So right now we're at the home page, the user interface, whatever you wanna call it. This is ground zero. And I just want to point out what a few of these things mean to you right here. So I'm actually going to zoom in. There we go. Oop, too much. Okay. On the right-hand side, this picture will bring you to your Gmail account. And so in order to make a Google Scholar account, you do need to have a Gmail. So if I click on my account, as you can see, it takes me out of Google Scholar and it brings me into my Google account. But we're not here for Google, we're here for Google Scholar, so let's go back to the home page. In the center, this is where you're gonna perform your search queries, and we're gonna get into the search queries towards the end because now I wanna go through all the different features. The two you see right here, these are quick access features to your profile and your library. If you'll note, these two options are the first two options in your drop-down menu. Like I said, these are quick access. But let's go through each of these, starting with my profile. So my profile, I'll say that this is mostly important if you plan to publish articles in Google Scholar. As a student who's not publishing, you're still welcome to input this information, the general information here, but just know that it's not going to make or break your user experience on Google Scholar. So if I go next and I go to articles, as you can see here, Google Scholar is trying to pull up articles that they think I wrote. They have the same last name as me. And so like I said, this is mostly important if you're a published author and you want to track your publications. But we're going to go back to Google Scholar. Now let's talk about my library, because my library is something that's very important to you as a college student. Basically, my library houses all of the sources that you find important. More specifically, you're able to organize them, categorize them, and save them for later. So for instance, if you're researching, finding a bunch of articles, but you don't have the time to read through those articles at the moment, you can save them in my library and reference them later. So for example, these are 3 articles that I already saved to my library that either I read and I really liked what it said, so I wanted to save it so I can reference it later, or I hadn't read and I wanted to reference later. Let me show you how to save an article to your library first, then we'll get into the functionality within my library. So Google Scholar homepage, I perform a basic search query, and if you'll note, the first option under each article is save. And that's exactly how you're going to save this article to my library. So let's click save. It brings up this prompt that says save to my library. Note how there's an option for labels. We're going to cover that right now because basically I just saved it to my library. It's not organized or categorized in any way, shape, or form. Now let's go back to my library. As you can see, I have the quick option over here on the right, and that article is right here. Great, these are all your articles saved in no particular order. Now, let's say order does matter to you because you're writing 2 papers in 2 separate courses. Well, using labels makes this very easy for you to do that. I like to tell students to think of labels like folders. When you're creating folders, say in your Google Drive account or on your desktop in your computer, labels work very similarly. So I want to create 2 labels to organize the 2 separate topics for these courses. What you're going to do is click Manage Labels. A brand new account will look like this. There's no labels created. So what you're going to do is create a new label, come up with a name. Let's say the first research paper I'm writing is in my leadership course. So I'm going to select Create. And now I have my first label called Leadership. Let's do another one. You can also create a label from up there. And let's say the other course I'm in is going to be a marketing class. Let's say I'm in marketing. Great. Great. So now I have 2 separate labels, aka folders, that I can save these articles to. So as you can see now over here on the left, we have leadership and marketing under our labels. And so if I wanted to organize these labels into their categories, now you see this label option, which I'm going to select. I'm going to click marketing, and then note how right here it says leadership, telling me that this article belongs to this label. So I'm going to do leadership here as well. Great. And then here, let's say this is for marketing. Wonderful. And finally, this last one was for marketing as well. The other thing that's really cool about labels is not only can you save them per category, but you can also save them per reading status. So let's say the 3 articles below, I've already read them and I'm simply saving them so I can reference them later. However, this first one, I haven't read this article yet. Great, let's assign another label to it. And now we're going to add it to our reading list, select Done, and then see how there's 2 labels associated with this article. Not only that, but now I have a notification reminding me that I have an unread article saved in my library. Isn't that the coolest thing in the world? Honestly, there's far cooler things and I'm just a weirdo, but moving on. Let's go back to the Google Scholar home page. Oh, again, I just want to show you that the notification does show right there so you don't forget that you have that article. By the way, if you're finding this helpful, you're welcome to help support the Smart Student channel so I can keep making content like this. YouTube has a great new feature called YouTube Thanks, where you can donate directly to the channel. In order to do that, you'll see a thanks button or icon next to the like button where you're welcome to support this channel. But anyways, now let's start breaking down the different options still available to you in your drop-down menu. We know my profile, my library. Let's move on to alerts. All right, so what are we looking at here? Well, we're looking at an alert that I already created. And what an alert is exactly what it sounds like, is that when Google Scholar has a new article or an article that fits your criteria, it's gonna let you know via email. And that will always be the email you have associated with this Google Scholar account. So what I did is I told Google Scholar that I'm researching transformational leadership styles, and I want to know when something new is published. And so I would receive that alert directly in my inbox, which is really nice. To create an alert, you're simply going to use this button, and then your alert query can be whatever you'd like it to be. So let's say that we want to create a new alert for our time management class. So we're going to type in a couple keywords. We're researching time management, but we want to find articles associated with higher education. Great. And not only do I want relevant results, but I want all results this time. So by clicking that, it's going to show me a list of results, first and foremost, that are available to me right now. Great. So I might peruse through some of those. But I decided I still want to create the alert because I'm writing my capstone project. And so this project isn't due for 6 months. I'm researching this entire time. And so that's when alerts become really helpful, is when you're doing one of those longer research projects. Say it's your thesis paper, your capstone project, or an advanced tip to be proactive. You can create an alert query at the beginning of your semester based on the course you're in. So let's say you're in nursing and you're taking a med-surg course. You know at some point you're writing a long research paper. You're not sure exactly what it's going to be about yet, but you know you're writing a paper in med-surg and you want to be proactive. So by creating this at the beginning of your semester, you're going to be receiving articles most relevant or all results throughout the entire semester. So when you go to write that paper, you already have an abundance of articles to look at. Again, isn't that super cool? Honestly, I need to get out more because my definition of super cool is, anyways, back to our homepage. Let's keep going down the list. Let's talk about metrics. And so if I had to guess, you, the student, have probably never looked at metrics, thought of metrics, and quite frankly, what Google metrics are is essentially the way that published authors can quickly gauge the visibility and influence of recent articles in scholarly publications. So yeah, Google Metrics is something that's geared towards published authors, but the reason I'm bringing it up is because you, the college student, there's still something to be gained if you know what Google Metrics is. So here we are, listed by top publication, and basically what I like to show college students is, because this is showing you the top publications, well, this is an easy way to find credible sources, find what's trending, find sources that are relevant, in other words, within the last 5 years. And it's just a great way, honestly, to do preliminary research. And so what I would do if I were a college student is I would go to categories. Note how there's all these different categories listed. Let's say I'm in social sciences. I'm going to go to social sciences. That's going to bring up categories based in social sciences, but I'm going to be more specific. So I'm going to go to subcategories because I'm in an education course, or pardon me, I'm in a management course, but I'm writing about education, higher education. So I'm going to select higher education, and this is going to show me what's trending in higher education right now. So if I were to click on studies in higher education, pardon me, this is going to show me specific articles. And not only that, but who is citing these articles? Where can I find them? So if I were to click on one of these, let's say Journal of College Student Development, now I have all of these articles I could look through. This is great for helping me find a direction for my research. And let's say I like this article, Influencing Academic Motivation. This goes into my time management in higher education and how students be successful. Well, I can look into the cited by section, and now I have options that correlate with that study. They're not all going to be a slam dunk, but I guarantee I can find a handful of articles within here that tie in with my main topic. So that's going to be metrics in a nutshell. As a college student, I always say, don't be afraid to browse the metrics. You never know what you're going to find. Even though it is built for published authors, you can still get value out of it. So now let's go ahead and move down to the advanced search feature. And this feature is probably one of the most important features on Google Scholar available to you, because this is how you're going to communicate effectively with Google Scholar. Now, I know that most college students, when they use Google Scholar, they use it as if it were Google. In other words, they type in whatever random thoughts they have, they type them in questions into Google Scholar, and Google Scholar does not work the same way that Google does, because you need to use keywords and you need to use functions with those keywords in order to speak the language that Google Scholar does. Now, that's getting into next week's video, my advanced search tips on Google Scholar, which I don't have time to go into depth right now. I am going to go through and tell you which each of these are, which each function does, and then if you want to watch the full video, know that it's going to be linked down below. But okay, so The easiest way to remember what each of these search feature does is, well, to read the bolded word or phrase. So 1, find articles. All of these are helping you find articles. This first section is going to be all of the words. So if I type in my keywords here, this is telling Google Scholar that I want to find articles that contain all of these keywords in no particular order. Doesn't matter, they just have to be present in the article. Now, let's say instead of all of them, I want to find with this exact phrase. And actually, it doesn't make sense because you want to find articles that matches this exact phrase verbatim, exactly how it is. So time management, college students, that's going to be hard to find. That doesn't make sense. So instead, I might put just college students. Or if I want to refine this, I might put higher education instead. Now, moving on to the third option, now we're telling Google Scholar that we want at least one of the words. So order doesn't matter, exact phrase doesn't matter. We just want to return a search where there's one of these words. And so in this case, maybe we type in master's, doctorate, PhD, for example. We're not too picky on the results. We're keeping an open mind here. But moving on to the fourth criteria, without the words. So this comes in handy when you're doing your research and something keeps popping up and you don't want it to be in those results. And so you oftentimes don't know that there's something you want to put in this search field until you're doing your research. So keeping with this theme, I'm researching higher education, and high school keeps returning in my results. And I don't want to return results that are associated with high school. So I put that without the words, and now Google Scholar knows that we're not going to return any results that are associated with high school. Simple as that. Again, if you want the full tutorial on all the cool things you can do with this, be sure to watch next week's video. But the last couple options you see here are exactly what they say. So where my words occur, anywhere in the article or in the title of the article. So if I were to erase these, going back to my keywords, these are the words I'm looking for, and I don't care where they're at, they can be anywhere in the article. Or perhaps I do care, I want them in the title of the article, then I would click the second option. Now, let's say I already know of an author that's notorious for writing about this topic. I would type that author in here to find their articles. Same thing as if there's a publication that I want to search for in specifically. This is where I would include that. And then finally, I can tell Google Scholar to search between a specific time period. This is a really effective way to keeping your search queries current. But okay, I know I'm taking up a lot of your time on this one. So let's go ahead and move on to the last option you have in your menu, which is your settings. And so within here, you have a few options as well. And so we're gonna go quick, but we're gonna be efficient. So collections, search articles. This is what most of you will use. So you don't want to change this. If you want to include patents, great. And if you're in law, maybe you want to search for case law. But I would say leave that where it is. You're fine there. Now, results per page. This is going to show me 10 results per page. I can increase that to 20, but that's not really a big deal. Now, where results open, I do like clicking this box because open each selected result in a new browser window. Basically, instead of clicking on an article and it changing your current browser window, it's going to launch a new browser window every time you open a new tab. And so that can be effective if you're trying to organize a lot of sources. Now, coming over here to languages, it's exactly what it sounds like. This is where you get to select the different languages that you want your articles written in. So if you have no preference, any language is great. But let's say you only speak English, you can select English and Google Scholar will only return articles written in English. Let's say you're super awesome and you're multilingual, you speak French and German, same criteria applies there. But I'm going to keep mine for any written language just to keep my options open. But now let's move down to library links. And library links is one of the most important things you should do when you open Google Scholar for the first time, because essentially what you're doing is you're linking your Google Scholar account with your university's online library, which is going to give you abundantly more access to the articles on Google Scholar. So what you're going to do is search for the university that you're attending, and we're going to say I'm at Harvard University. We're going to search, and there we go. Make sure Harvard is checked. You're going to select save. And then now when I do a basic search, pay attention to the right-hand side and note how Harvard Library, all of these articles I have access to through my university's library. And now pretend that Harvard wasn't linked. Note how many I wouldn't have access to if I were only using the access Google Scholar gives me. So very important to do, but let's go back into our settings. We had a couple more things to go through. You have account, just a few additional options associated with your account. For instance, if you tick this first box, it's going to use your on-campus library subscription to enable off-campus links. If you tick the second one, this is signed in search activity. So it's going to use your search activity to improve your search results and recommendations. In other words, Google Scholar keeps track of your searches to fine-tune your search results, if that makes sense. And then finally, this last option is button. And this is the option to install the Google Scholar button on your web browser. So for example, if I click this option, it's going to bring me out of Google Scholar to this Chrome web store. In other words, the button feature is simply an extension, and I've never used it. And so if you are someone out there who personally has used the button feature for Google Scholar, comment down below, let us know how it goes. But that is officially the final feature you have available to you on Google Scholar, ending your beginner's guide tour. Woo! That was a lot of information. I really hope I didn't overwhelm you, which remember is exactly why I created the downloadable template of everything I covered in this video. Download it, save it on your computer. And if you have any questions, let me know down below. Also, feel free to just say hello. I love chatting with you guys. And yeah, that's gonna be it for today. I'll see you in the next video.